Hey, Buck, cue that intro.
Are you ready for the best damn radio show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You know on the beat every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that while I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is going on, Man Hour Nation? It's your man, BC, Brandon Combs, coming to you live here on a Wednesday night. Now, normally you guys would see Buck here rambling all of his nonsense, and some people like that stuff, and he says he's going to be in the chat to talk shit and chew bubble gum, but he's all out of bubble gum. But tonight, Buck had the unfortunate pleasure of going to a funeral, and so he is not going to be on the show tonight. But I did bring somebody along with me. He is my co-host on Man Hour Chicago, none other than Ryan Fitzgibbons. What's going on, Ryan?
Womp womp. Got big shoes to fill today. I do listen to Buck, and he does. Yeah, he talks a lot of shit, but it's fun. I haven't commented a lot on his show, which is something I was gonna comment the one time, and I was like waiting for him, and then I had other shit to do. But yeah, big shoes to fill today. I'm like, hopefully, I'm more Jeff Hostetler today than Nathan Peterman.
All you have to do if you want to fill in Buck's shoes, all you got to do is say some shit that is like so far out there that nobody would ever believe you, and then you just got to stutter a little bit. That's all you got to do.
Okay, the world's gonna end in 20 years, so just drain your 401ks.
Send it all to my bank account.
Rising. I mean, we had a good time. I mean, weren't the 90s great? I mean, let's just think about it. We had our time in the sun, didn't we?
Yeah.
In the 90s, everybody was taking PEDs. No one cared. You sent me the bonds. I mean, look at Bond's stats. I mean, you know how I go on PEDs. I cared back then, but I really don't care much anymore. But you look at his stats and it's like, oh my God, he was on performance enhancing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, there we go. I'll throw that out there. The world's gonna end in 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, or we could throw out there that ridiculous trade rumor that I heard earlier about the Bulls sending DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and somebody else to LA for LeBron James. And it's got, apparently Bleacher Report is reporting that this has more than a 50% probability of actually happening and going through. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's the Bulls, so who cares?
How do those percentages work out? Bleacher Report has a 50% chance of being accurate. You have the 50% they're claiming. So
right.
We're talking what, 20-25% chance? I can't believe it would be that good.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see, but I don't see that happening. There's like really no reason for it.
Buckheister, I will kill you. We do this all the time. He's a LeBron guy. LeBron's the GOAT, blah, 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 blah. He's full of shit. Jordan will always be the GOAT forever. So you just shut your mouth over there. But at any rate, we've got a lot of things that happen in the NFL. So, we had the divisional, or the wild card round, I should say. We got the divisional round coming up this week. Anything surprise you from the wild card round this past weekend? Because I got to tell you, not much really surprised me. I mean, I did have the Chargers winning. But them blowing a 27-point lead doesn't really surprise me. You know what I mean? And I picked the Giants to beat the Vikings. So not much really technically surprised me. But we had some good football.
I thought, if I had to pick, and I think we were going to talk about it, we never got it. We never got to talk about it on the Chicago show, but we were going to talk about who did we think was going to be the upset, and I thought Tampa, and that was probably the biggest blowout.
Yeah.
If I'm forgetting why, I mean, I guess, the San Francisco game was a blowout, but that game was close for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for good, I don't know, almost 3 quarters. It was pretty close, maybe 2.5 quarters, pretty close game. And that Miami Buffalo game, we were talking about it when we were doing, just talking about the show. Josh Allen cannot play that way if he wants to win a Super Bowl. He cannot protect the ball. Our Justin Fields did outplay him, and he threw some head-scratching interceptions in that game. He threw some head-scratching interceptions. He put the ball on the ground too many times. I know when you have a running quarterback and a guy like him, and their parallels to Favre are pretty easy to see, but you got to protect the ball better than that, right? I mean,
look, there's a lot of times where you look at what Josh Allen does, and Josh Allen, the guy is a stud. I mean, he runs the ball like a running back. He is as big as a fullback, and he's got the freaking cannon of a Greek god, right? Like, so you look at a guy like that and you're like, oh man, that's a total package. But then he makes some decisions that make you go, what the hell was that? Like, what were you thinking when you threw that ball into triple coverage as you were on your back foot getting sacked? Like, and he makes some of these decisions, and it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But he finds a way to win, and he's still Josh Allen. He's still one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Yeah. That being said, I don't think they beat Cincinnati this week. I really don't. And I know Cincinnati had to hang on to beat, Baltimore, and they needed a miracle play at the goal line with the quarterback fumbling, a foot and a half from the goal line. But I just think Cincinnati is the better team. I had Cincinnati in the Super Bowl prior to the playoffs. I filled out my bracket. I sent it over to Buck. I have the Bengals and the 49ers in the Super Bowl. So I do think the Bengals beat Buffalo this week, and I'm not shying off of that.
Yeah, that fumble at the goal line. That's something where if you're a fan, well, the Ravens have been good for a while, but if you're a fan of the Ravens, makes you want to jump off a bridge. That's something that would happen to the Bears. That's very Bearsy. That's very Brownsy. That's very New York Jetsy.
Yeah.
The list actually goes on in the NFL. You can even say that's kind of Chargers. Whoa, man.
And
Chargers. You said, I think Justin Herbert's a good quarterback. Yeah, but you got to make some first downs, man. And what happened to their defense? Like, they knew exactly what the Jaguars' offense was. And Trevor Lawrence, we can end up being a good quarterback. I don't know, but I don't have him predicted there. But you never know. He could end up being a great quarterback. And he could end up there, but they knew they were going to do the intermediate game. Perfect game plan against them. Perfect game plan.
Yeah.
What was the name of the cornerback that had 300? Was it Asante Samuel? Is that?
Yes,
Asante Samuel. Junior. I was like, Asante Samuel still playing?
Yeah.
That's how much I know about the Chargers. It's like, no, that's Junior, you dumbass. And played great. That is one thing that the Bears defense now constituted the Lovey defense didn't do, and a lot of defenses in the past the Bears didn't do, which is get up on those receivers. And they really played well. It was inspired defense. And then I don't know if you saw the same thing. It was like prevent winning by the last half.
Yeah, I looked at that game and I was watching it. And look, when they were up 27-0, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I turned on Fortnite and started playing with the kids. Like, I was not expecting a Jaguars comeback. I probably should have, right? Because that's what the Chargers kind of do. The Chargers are kind of that team that will find a way to lose. I just saw in this environment with this football team, and as bad as Trevor Lawrence looked in the first half, I mean, you couldn't have had a worse first half. I mean, hell, a worse first quarter. He threw 3 of those 4 picks in the first quarter. And I didn't think there was any way that Jacksonville was coming back. I thought the moment was too big for Trevor Lawrence. I thought that their defense was playing very poorly. And then they came out in the second half. They made some adjustments. Trevor Lawrence still, yes, he threw for 4 touchdowns in the second half, but he still looked really pedestrian in that second half. It was more of the Chargers losing that game than it was the Jaguars winning that game.
Yep, absolutely. And someone told me, well, Trevor Lawrence is definitely the better quarterback in that draft than Justin Fields. And it's like, he threw 4 picks. And I'm like, oh yeah, but the first one got tipped. There's still 3 other picks.
Yeah.
And yeah, Santi Samuel, he played well, but some of those passes were...
The second pick that he threw, there were 3 Chargers in front of his receiver.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, I mean, we talk about decision making. I mean, that was probably one of the worst playoff performances that resulted in a victory that I've ever seen. I mean, I talk all the time about Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I believe, when throwing 3 or more interceptions in the playoffs, is undefeated, which is crazy to me, right?
Yeah.
But there are, interceptions that don't kill you. And then there are interceptions that are like, damn, that's really going to hurt you. And the Chargers could have stomped all over them. And instead, they sit back in the second half, man, and they just didn't do anything.
Well,
nothing.
You have 2 touchdown passes to a wide open, to what the Chargers broadcaster called. There was no one near him. The only Charger near him was across the Georgia, Florida state line, which was true, especially that 35, 36, 37-yard pass.
Yep.
Which was a good pass. It wasn't a bad pass. I mean, you still got to hit the guy, but wide open. I mean, you got, with some of these receivers, you got a 10-yard radius, really, when they're wide open.
Let's get into some of the comments here. We've got Brandon Jr. coming into the chat and says, if the Bills play like they did against Miami, Cincinnati will run all over them. I mean, if Cincinnati plays like they did against Baltimore, you could argue that Buffalo will run all over them. Both teams played a very bad opening playoff game. I mean, both teams, like Miami should have never been in that game. The Miami with their 3rd string quarterback should be nowhere near what the Buffalo Bills are to this point. And Cincinnati playing against Baltimore's backup quarterback, Baltimore shouldn't have been anywhere in the vicinity to be beating Cincinnati. And so both teams were at home. Both teams struggled. I think this is going to be a really good game, though. I think it's going to be a really, really close game.
But, I mean, yeah, and that's another team that had a great defensive plan. I mean, did somebody? I mean, I'm not saying they solved Joe Burrow. You're not gonna solve that guy. That's a generational talent, or close as you're gonna get to. That, I mean, he was an NFL quarterback his last year in college. Look at that LSU Alabama game where every single pass he basically made.
Right.
But they sort of figured him out a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Not on the blind side, but on the other side, which is a little strange, where they got a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Got some pressure up the middle, which no quarterback has.
Well, there's a lot of offensive line struggles right now in Cincinnati. A lot of injuries on that offensive line, which is really starting to show how much it hurts them.
Yep. Yeah. But still, I mean, had some good coverages against them, had some good ideas, went from zone to man a lot. Yeah. I mean, hey, it's my brother John.
It's the first time he's ever chimed in where I haven't wanted to wring his neck, because I think he's right here. Doug Peterson is a great head coach. I don't think he's the coach of the year this year, but I think he's definitely
pretty damn close.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up finishing second to Brian Dable, who I think is going to win it, because that team was supposed to be a team that was in a rebuild year, and instead they're headed to the divisional round, and I actually think that they're headed to the NFC Championship game, which we'll get to here in just a minute.
And I have a question for both you and John. Should the Bears have gotten Doug Peterson instead of Eberflus, who my dad calls the Ace Hardware?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to that. And here's why. Because I feel like Ryan Poles got his guy. And I'm fine with that. If you go, I would rather have a GM that has the balls to go get his guy than a GM that succumbs to the pressure of what the fans think. Because let's just face it, I say it all the time. Most fans, I would say probably about 70% of fans are idiots. They don't understand the business side of the game. They don't understand anything other than what's happening on the field and what's in front of them. I listen to
And that's
Bears
fine
fans
if you're
all
a
year
fan.
talk about how Justin Fields can't be good because he didn't win a whole lot of games this year. Well, I don't care who you put in there. You could have put Joe Montana in there, and the Bears still wouldn't have won a lot of games this year. It wasn't about wins and losses this season with the Chicago Bears. Fans are morons. So I'm glad that we had a GM that had the balls to go take his guy. Even back when Ryan Pace first took Trubisky. Now, did I like the pick? No. I thought it was a stupid pick. Looking back, it proved to be a stupid pick. But at least at the time, I said, well, at least he went and got his guy. At least he had the balls to say, you know what? I know everybody wants me to take Deshaun Watson, okay, including all the massage therapists in Chicago. But
they'd be making that money.
Dude, they all would have been paid, just like all the ones in Houston were paid. But at any rate, I like a GM that has the balls to take his guy. So I'm much okay with the Eberflus job. Who's to say Doug Peterson comes into Chicago and has as good as a year as he had in Jacksonville?
Yeah, and he
got more players in Jacksonville.
And it always seems like Philadelphia is a pretty smart organization, right? Like they've been one of the top organizations in the league for quite some time, and they wrote him out of town pretty much. There's something there. I mean, that might not be right. So, but I don't know. I don't know where to side here. Maybe I don't have an answer. I mean, we talk on these shows and do these podcasts, and we always think we have a position, but I'm kind of waffling here. I like Eberflus and the discipline of his team. I do, but I don't know. Doug Peterson looks pretty good right now.
And this is the nonsense that I talk about when you listen to Buck. Lawrence is better looking and hands down better than Fields. What were you watching in that game that says that this guy is better than Fields? Has Fields ever thrown 4 interceptions in a game? Let alone in the first half of a game?
No.
I think he's had 2-3 interception games in the last 2 years. But those are 3 interception games, not 3 interception quarters.
I think this stat cuts both ways, though. He's never attempted that many passes. They don't have him drop
true.
back that much.
There was 48 passes. He was still 27 of 48. I mean, and even some of his completions where his receivers going to get it, that he was still over and under throwing quite a bit. They're gonna get murdered this weekend. I think Kansas City's gonna murder them.
I see a second-year quarterback who actually had more tools than Justin Fields and's done just about as good. And you can even make an argument like you have that he hasn't done as good this year with not the worst team in the league, with a team that was middling, had a little bit of talent. Yeah, last year you had the Yahoo going to bars and, I don't know, rubbing up against sorority girls, but but you still had a team that, you're still playing on a real team and not a Matt Nagy led team where you're, taking 7-step drops with an offensive line that's amateur at best.
Yeah.
You're at least learning somewhat.
Brandon Jr. says, do you think Brady is done?
Good question.
I do not. I think Tom Brady is going to be the quarterback somewhere next year. I don't think it's Tampa Bay. I do think that he is going to try to play one more year at least. I would like to see him ride off into the sunset because I don't necessarily believe that he looked really old on Monday night. I mean, really old on Monday night. And so I would rather see him leave and go out knowing what he was and to see him try to hang on and really, really be terrible. But for me, it's going to depend on who he plays for. I think that, Las Vegas makes a ton of sense for him. I think that Miami might make a ton of sense for him because I don't see any way Tua Tagovailoa comes back as a starting quarterback in this league with the concussion issues that he's had. Do you? I see. Yeah, you have some mic issues over there. All right, so I'm gonna keep going while Fitz figures out the mic. But I don't see any way that we could have a guy like Tom Brady figure out what he's doing with the NFL, especially since he left his family, destroyed his family to come back and play football, and now you watched him play like he played on Monday night. Do you think that he is going to be that guy? And your mic is muted.
Zoom,
freaking rookie.
Zoom fail. I mean, it's a good question. I think he's done. I mean, it'd be hard to believe that he's not. I mean, ruined his marriage kind of over this decision. I mean, I feel almost the same way about him and Rodgers, but I think Rodgers, maybe a change of scenery is better for him. I don't know. I don't know what they're saying in Green Bay. We haven't heard a whole lot, and they're usually quite tight-lipped about that. But I think Rodgers might have a couple more years in him if he wants to do it. The guy has different interests. He's not like a Brady who's just like obsessed with football.
Right.
He does have other interests, so that's like a little different. But Brady, I think he's done. I think this is it. I mean, why come back? Their team is aging out. Their offensive line wasn't as good.
Junior pining for Brady to come back to New England. Do you think that happens?
No way. Do you? No way. I just don't.
I think if he goes back to New England, it's for a one-day contract to retire.
I just think him and Belichick are just too far away. I think there's an ego thing there, that a pride thing that's just way too much.
So Buck says Rodgers is going to Vegas. Now, this is an interesting one because Devontae Adams is there. I think Rodgers would have a vastly improved team than what he had in New England or in Green Bay over the last couple of seasons. But I think Rodgers retires. I think Rodgers is the one that's done. I don't think he wants to play football anymore. I look at him, I look at his demeanor on the sidelines, I look at what he has been, and I just don't think he has it in him anymore. He's not that guy, and I don't know that he's a guy that anybody really wants to bring into their locker room. I really don't. I mean, his own family doesn't want anything to do with the guy.
Is it the Russell Wilson effect?
Oh my God. Could you imagine if he went to Vegas and was as bad as Russell Wilson was in Denver?
Oh my God.
Dude, I mean, I don't know. Is it possible? Could Aaron Rodgers ever be as bad? Ever? Like, he could be 97. No. I don't think he could be as bad as Russell Wilson was this season in Denver. I mean, that was and Buck and I both said it when it happened. We both said this was a terrible trade for Denver. And I said, I remember saying Denver is going to regret this trade by week 4 of the season. And I think it was actually week 3, so I was wrong. It was week 3 that they actually regretted the trade. It didn't even make it to week 4.
I can't believe how good he was for so many years. I don't know. I don't know if I would have made that prediction. Because 49ers.
Tiki Simpson chiming in. What's going on, Tiki? It's a 49ers game. He looked old, too. He really needs to keep his dignity and retire, talking about Tom Brady.
Yeah. I mean, I still think he could throw.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think he can throw. He can move around in the pocket. His mind's still there. He still has the passion for it. Yeah, there's something lost there. There is. There's a sharpness that's just not there anymore. That wasn't there the Super Bowl season either.
They both need to retire and quit getting sacked.
Well, their offensive, that's another thing. Their offensive lines weren't as good this year as they were in the last couple of years.
With 2 Chicago Bears fans here on the show, Tiki, we are both rooting for Aaron Rodgers to retire, so we never have to see that man again. But if we do have to see him again, the only time we ever want to see him is when he's getting sacked. So those are the two. It's kind of a give or take with us. We would love to see him retire, but we would also love to see him get his head taken off as well. So, I'm glad that he's finally leaving. I'm glad that he's no longer going to be the owner of the Bears, selling his stake in the Bears franchise by leaving Green Bay. But look, I think Rodgers retires. I really do. I don't think he has it anymore. I don't think he has that it factor. I don't think he has that desire to be as good as he was early on in his career. And we look at Rodgers, and I always say I think this guy is a top 5 quarterback of all time. But
absolutely.
But I also think that he's a guy who could never really win the big game unless it was handed to him on a silver platter by the Chicago Bears and their starting quarterback riding a freaking bike in the third quarter.
Relitigating what is it? 14-year-old game. Almost 14 years to the day. That's what you like to do on this show.
And until this time, until this day, and until this day, every time I walk into somebody's house and they have an exercise bike, I kick the damn thing over.
I would too. Oh my God. It reminds me of Cedric Benson in the Super Bowl too. That's another one we could relitigate for sure. Because if he's on the field, there's a couple times where Thomas Jones has pretty good runs there where he can't get in the end zone. 1985, baby.
But the Bears, to me, look, we could talk about the Bears and we could relitigate all we want. But what I want to talk about is the future. And the Bears introduced a new GM. Or no, I'm sorry, not a new GM, a new president of operations who is going to be overseeing the new stadium build out in Arlington Heights. He's going to he's not going to be, from what I understand, he's not really going to be sticking his nose in the business of Ryan Poles, even though Ryan Poles is going to answer to him in a way. But Kevin Warren is going to be a guy that I believe is the beginning of the Bears' future. And I think that we have the right GM in place. I think now we have the right president in place. I think we have the right quarterback in place. I think the Bears are going to be turning a corner here in their franchise history and gearing up more towards some of these teams that we've been watching be successful for 20 plus years with the hire of Kevin Warren. Did you like that hire?
Yeah, I like the hire, even though I think there's something out that Justin Fields had something against Kevin Warren, had a petition against him or whatever the hell they call it, and it didn't really work out. But I mean, I don't think that's a big deal. I think they're cool. I don't think that's gonna be a problem. You know what I mean?
think that they had a from what I heard, they had a good relationship though.
Yeah, I mean that's what they say, but he had some kind of petition against him.
Okay.
They didn't really have that many details on it, but they kind of, everything's good now. But I think it's a good rate, especially with the new stadium coming in. I mean, didn't he help build the stadium in Minnesota?
He did, and Buck comes in with Bears have the right players in place. Combs 2019, 4 years later, Bears have the right players in place. I did not say that in 2019.
I think a lot of people said that in 2019 after that 18 season. I mean, it looked good. I mean, other people could make predictions and just say the Bears are the Bears and they suck. And I made a prediction. I flipped a coin. But in 2018, they were okay. That was a pretty good team. Man.
I said they had a good team, but they still didn't have the right quarterback. I said that then. I didn't think that they had the right quarterback because I still watched this guy in Mitch Trubisky who was underthrowing guys who were wide open.
Or overthrowing them.
Overthrowing them, and then they would make plays. They would make stuff happen. And so I wasn't there with him. But getting back to Kevin Warren, like, I really like this guy, man. I think he is a smart dude. I think he is going to really help
Yeah.
this stadium. Like you said, he had a deal with Minnesota, helping them get their stadium going. This guy was the president of the Big Ten. I mean, this guy has aspirations of being the NFL commissioner one day. Like this guy and Kevin Warren is just a business dude who can lead your franchise into the future. And we're about to see, and we were talking about this before the show, we're about to see not only with Kevin Warren, but with Ryan Poles. This offseason this year is a huge offseason for Bears fans.
Gigantic.
A huge offseason for Bears fans, and it's huge for their perception of Ryan Poles moving forward. If Ryan Poles screws up this offseason, people are, including myself, are going to want this guy's head on a platter because $100+ million in cap space, the number one draft pick that you've got at least 3 teams that are coveting that pick that you could play against one another and get yourself set for the immediate future. If you play your cards right, this right here is going to be the offseason that either A, turns everything around for this franchise, or B, puts us right back into the same spot we've been for the last 40+ years, maybe even longer, of just wondering why did we do this and why didn't we do that.
8 picks in the draft, 100 million. Well, let's just call it $100 million. What did you say the real number is?
$108.5 million in the
108.5 to be exact. You're my CPA or my private equity person.
Yeah.
Anyway, that many decisions, there are going to be decisions that go wrong. That's obvious. Like there's going to be stuff that goes wrong. He just has to get more right than wrong. He does. He absolutely does for this organization, for the health of Bears fans' psyche. He has to. He has to get it right. And there's a lot of people saying a lot of different things. One of the flavors are, and you saw my brother comment, that they trade Justin Fields, get the pick, probably a first, maybe 2 firsts. We're going to talk about it. We got to talk about it. It's the elephant in the room.
It's you know why it's the elephant in the room?
You look constant.
What animal in the world has the smallest brain? That's the only reason why it's the elephant in the room, is because it is the stupidest thing that anybody could ever conjure up. There is no reason in the world why the Bears will take this offseason and why the Bears are going to freaking trade Justin Fields. I don't care. John can come up with all the nonsense he wants, right? Same thing with Buck. Instead of repeating it, Ryan, you should freaking just shake your head and tell him he's an idiot like I do to Buck. Because there is no way that they are trading Justin Fields to get an unproven commodity. You know what? Maybe there is a way. Maybe I was wrong and Ryan Poles is just Ryan Pace, and maybe they're going to do something stupid, because that would be a total Ryan Pace move to trade Justin Fields right now to go and get a guy out of Alabama who's about 5'7". It just makes no sense. Have you watched Tua? Have you watched Tua and see what happens to small quarterbacks in this league? If you trade Justin Fields to get Bryce Young, you're an idiot. If you trade Justin Fields to get CJ Stroud, you're an idiot. It's stupid. It's a stupid idea. It's a stupid notion. Anybody who says it just doesn't understand the game, and they just hate Justin Fields for whatever reason.
Yeah, and yes, exactly. No, I agree with you, but isn't this good that people are actually saying this and actually coming on? I mean, Dan Patrick is asking, people on his radio show, should they trade him? You restart the quarterback clock. Isn't that cool? Like, how is that something? You have a guy,
don't need.
You had a 10-game stretch that was better than better or as good, probably better than any game stretch that any quarterback had in Bears history. And you're talking about this.
I heard this earlier.
But is Ryan Poles paying these people? That's my question. Does he have them going to massage? Is he sending massage parlors? Sean Watson's massage parlors. Is that what's happening? I want you to come out. Like I said to you, he sat there before that press conference and he thought about it for a long time. I'm going to be asked, should I trade Justin Fields or would I trade Justin Fields? He sat there and he thought about it a long time and said how he chose his words wisely. How am I going to answer that question? I'd have to be blown away. More open and still respects Justin Fields at the same time.
I heard this on the radio this morning, and somebody said, do you have to talk about trading Justin Fields to gain as much as you can for the number one pick? And I thought about it for a minute, and I said, no, you don't. And here's why you don't have to talk about this. Here's why you don't have to be that guy who says, you know what, maybe we'll think about it. If I'm blown away, maybe I'll trade Justin and draft somebody else. And the reason is because you have Houston, you have Indianapolis, and the Indianapolis GM saying, I'll move heaven and earth to go get a quarterback at number one.
Yeah.
And you've got other teams like the Las Vegas Raiders that are going to be looking for their future franchise quarterback in this draft. And they know that the Bears are willing to make a deal. So what you do if you are the Bears in this draft, you use Houston. You use Houston to tell Indy, hey, look, Houston wants to move up. They want their guy. They're going to go after whoever you get the notion that Indy might want. All of a sudden, that's who Houston is talking about taking with your number one pick. Then you'd see what Indy offers. If Indy won't offer you exactly what you want, which better include Quentin Nelson, which maybe includes what we talked about on Sunday, which I brought up with Michael Pittman Jr., you add that in, or guess what? Houston wants to move up. And then you let Houston move into your number one draft pick. You take the 2, you take the 12, you take their second, and you probably take next year's first or second, right? Then you go to Indianapolis and Las Vegas and any other team that might want a starting quarterback, maybe even Tennessee. And you tell these guys, look, I got the number 2. I'm willing to trade this too. Now you get that. Say you trade to Indy. Now you've got the 4. You've got the 12. You might be able to get Will Anderson at number 4. You take Will Anderson. Then at number 12, like I said before, you might have Quentin Johnson. If you don't have Quentin Johnson, you could take an offensive lineman at number 12. You could take another wide receiver at number 12. You could take somebody there that you need to fill your roster. And guess what? You still have 2 second-round picks. You still have 2 third-round picks. You'll have a second next year. And you've just used this to move back up. Right. And maybe at 4, maybe Will Anderson's off the board at 3, right? Then at 4, you can go to Vegas. Hey, look, there's still 1 quarterback left. I'm willing to trade you up. You give me that 7. At 7, I could do what I could still take a guy that I need at 7. Now I've traded the 4. Now I take the 7. Now I take the 7. I have the 12. I might have your second, your third. Like all of a sudden, you've got like 20 picks in the next freaking 2 drafts to build your roster. You can't mess this up. And if you mess this up, I promise you, I'm sending mail bombs to Hallis Hall.
The only thing is in the NFL more than any of this other sport, there is some collusion. And I don't know if they're going to let them get that many picks. But I cannot believe you didn't end that rant with Quentin Johnston. I cannot believe
I said Quentin Johnston's name. I said you might get Quentin Johnson at 12. Yeah. Dude, I love Quentin Johnston. How could you not love a 6'6", 215 wide receiver with great hands and breakaway speed? That's the one question nobody's answered to me yet. When I say get Quentin Johnson, everybody's like, no, you can't get Quentin Johnson. Why? Why don't you draft Quentin Johnson? Tell me one reason.
They haven't built a Freaking, they haven't built an offensive line since the Reagan administration. That's
what free agency is for. No, and I'm with you.
Oh yeah.
If we go through free agency,
we went through it last week.
We did not go through free agency last week. Stop it. Free agency hasn't started. So if you don't beef up your offensive line in free agency, if you don't do that type of stuff, then I'm with you. In the draft, that's what you're building, right? But you should be doing that in free agency, because what you can't get in free agency is a 6'6" wide receiver who has 215 pounds with great hands and breakaway speed. You're not going to find that in free agency. You're going to either get Juju Smith-Schuster or the kid from New England that you were talking about the other day that I don't want, because we've already got 2 of him on our damn wide receiver core. But you beef that up. And if you go out and say you trade for, maybe you pass on Quentin Johnston because you went out and you traded for Michael Pittman. Okay, I'm fine with that too. Okay, and then you build it through other things. But you're not going to get a wide receiver like Quentin Johnston in free agency. You're not.
No, you're not. You're not. But you're not going to get your left. You're probably not going to get your left tackle either.
Why aren't you? You don't think Orlando Brown's going to be available? You don't think Kansas City's going to let him walk with the amount of money he's going to require?
I said generational quarterback before, but the generational quarterback. You think they're not going to have one of the best left tackles in the league stay to protect him? Patrick Mahomes, like they're not going to keep him at left tackle.
Can they afford to because of what they paid Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, I know.
That's what I'm saying. Like what? They're
almost $500 million.
Yeah, and I don't think that they had to have known this was going to be a problem in Kansas City.
Mahomes could start a car company at this point.
Well, instead, no, he's going out and he's buying soccer teams and he's buying, stock in the Royals and everything else. But I mean, Kansas City had to know this was coming. So no, I don't think they can afford Orlando Brown. I don't think that maybe McGlinchey might not be available, even though I love him. Notre Dame, go Irish. But maybe he's not available, but you can still get offensive linemen in this draft. You can still, no matter what you get in this free agency with offensive linemen, it's going to be better than what you have. It's going to be better than what you have, right? Because what we have is nothingness.
Yeah.
There is nothing on this offense. There's not one player on this offensive line that I say you can't replace. Not one. Can you tell me one player you would not replace on this offensive line?
If Tevin Jenkins didn't get hurt, I'd probably say him. Cody Whitehair is a decent player. He's aging out. No, there's nobody and
Tevin Jenkins is just so injury prone.
Yeah, he played 12 games this year. I mean,
yeah,
looks like he'll be a good guard and backup, probably right tackle. He's not going to be the left tackle they thought he could possibly be.
Gunner's boss chimes in and says they will find a way to do just that. The Bears are great at messing things up. Thanks, Gunner. Thanks for telling us what we are.
They're a fumble on the 1 yard line. They are.
Yeah, it's the truth. Gunner also says Monday night was exactly 30 years since the Dallas Cowboys won a road playoff game. Put that into perspective. It's the entire length of Tom Brady's career plus the entire length of Carson Wentz's career. Yet they are so popular. It's also less amount of Tom Brady. Did you know that if Tom Brady would have won on Monday night, he would have surpassed the Dallas Cowboys in playoff wins? Not any of their quarterbacks. I'm not talking about Troy Aikman. I'm not talking about Roger Staubach. I'm not talking about any of these guys that were great quarterbacks for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm talking about the organization. Tom Brady was tied with the Dallas Cowboys for the most wins in playoff history. The franchise. Like,
America's
isn't that
team.
insane, dude?
Yeah.
That is freaking nuts. The numbers on guys like that astound me. When you start looking at the GOATs in each sport, the numbers astound me. You know that I love Barry Bonds. My favorite piece of memorabilia that sits on my shelf over here is a Barry Bonds autographed baseball. And I love the numbers, and that's what I love about the greatest in all the sports, that you can look at the numbers and just shake your head and laugh because it's insane. It's insane the number of playoff wins that Tom Brady has. Tom Brady has more, or what do you have? He has more losses in the playoff appearances than I think 11 franchises have playoff appearances. And you can only have one loss per season in the playoffs. So think about that one. Like, you can have up to 4 to 5 wins in a playoff season. You can only have one loss. So he's got more losses than like 10 franchises have appearances.
When Bonds hit 73 home runs, I'm just looking at his stats because they're sick. When he hit 73 home runs in his 36-year season, his slugging percentage was .863. Guys, if you have a .863 OPS, you're happy with that.
What was the one I sent you the other day? Was if he only played from 2002 to 2004, he'd be 5th all-time in intentional walks.
Unbelievable. His on-base percentage the year after that was .582.
Yeah.
So every 10 at-bats, he's pretty much getting on base 6 times. His batting average was .370, by the way.
Buck just added a poll question. Could you imagine if the Bears traded Fields for Dak Prescott and Zeke? If that happens, I will go to the store tomorrow and I will get a Minnesota Vikings jersey because I will be a Minnesota Vikings fan from here on out. There is no, if that
the Vikings are your backup team?
Yeah, the Vikings would be my backup team.
What?
Actually, to be honest with you, when I was growing up, because it was the 90s, I was a big Bills fan, and they were losing every Super Bowl. I do love the Bills. But just because they're close enough for me to go and get to a game. So for me, I'd probably be why
not Detroit? The lovable losers. Well, the Buffalo Bills, they just got 45 people.
That says a lot about me that says a lot about me, right? I'm like, instead of being a Bear and saying, you know what, I'd be a Chiefs fan or I'd be a Patriots fan or a team of a winning franchise. I went with like 2 or 3 other losing franchises that I would be a fan of. Like, I'm not even like, hey, I'm going to bandwagon jump and I'm going to go to the best teams out there. No, I'm like, you know what? Give me the Vikings, who will break my heart every year, just like the Bears do.
You are a Cubs fan, so there is something with that whole Cubs thing where you guys kind of liked losing.
That's true.
You did. It was kind of cool. And then when you won the championship, wasn't there a little bit of like, oh, that's it? Oh, okay.
You know what was hard for me with the World Series in 2016, and we'll talk about this before we get to we're going to make our picks for the divisional round. But 2016 for me with the Cubs was it was great and I loved it and I broke down in tears after they won it, but like I couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't enjoy the World Series because I was so stressed out, dude. Like, I was so stressed out for all 7 games. We were down 3-1. We come back, we're up 5-0 in Game 7, and then we blow that, and I'm like, oh my god. So the entire World Series, I was just stressed, and I couldn't enjoy it. Like I always say, if the Cubs go back to another World Series in my lifetime, which they might, I don't know, we'll see, but the next time that they go, I think I'll be able to enjoy it more because it won't be like, wow, it's been 108 years since we won.
You're not overanalyzing everything. I feel like I did that the Sox year, but once the Sox made it to the play, I mean, most of that year, the Sox were the best team in the league. Not
The
that
White Sox won a World Series?
Yes, according to
Oh.
ESPN, no, though.
Oh,
So,
okay.
if
Oh,
you look
I don't
at
remember that one.
ESPN, It never happened.
I don't remember it.
According to the popularity of the World Series, it never happened. But 4 good games, by the way.
I don't know. I must have missed that one. But anyway, we've got
4 complete games in the championship series too. That'll never happen again.
We've got the NFC. I'm sorry, the NFL divisional round this weekend, and we've got 4 games: 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. So let's go ahead and let's pick our winners here. We've got the kicking it off on Saturday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. on NBC is Jaguars and Chiefs. Who are you taking in this one?
I mean, come on.
Yeah, Chiefs all day.
Like 28 or 20, maybe, just because it's the playoffs.
Here's my prediction: the Jaguars are actually going to jump out to like a 17-0 lead. And then the Chiefs are just going to beat them like 43-17.
That could happen. I mean, the Chiefs do that a lot.
Yeah, especially in the playoffs.
And no one, like, they're down 14, 17, whatever. And no one thinks they're going to lose.
Yep. And Amanda is picking the Chiefs as well.
All right, Amanda.
So then the second game we have, which I think might actually be the best game of the weekend, and I think we're going to have some really good games this weekend, is the Giants and Eagles. Who you got in this one?
Come on. Eagles.
Really?
I buy another 20.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones, come on. That can't be real. The Giants can't really like him.
This is why Brian Dable is the coach of the year.
Put up those numbers. Yeah.
This is why Brian Dable is the coach of the year. This was supposed to be a rebuild year for the New York Giants.
Yep.
They were supposed to be trying to figure out what they're doing. They're supposed to have a top pick so that maybe they can move away from Daniel Jones. And instead, they're in the NFC divisional round. And I picked this ahead of time. I've had this all along. I have the New York Football Giants going to the NFC title game because I believe in the Giants. I believe in Brian Dable, just like his players do, and they are fighting their ass off for him. They are playing their butts off, and they can beat the Eagles. They can beat the Eagles with or without Jalen Hurts, which from what I hear, he's fully healthy and he's ready to go, but there's going to be some rust there. And I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think that the G-men win this.
On the way home.
I've got the Giants winning this one. I've got the Giants winning this one 20-17. As John said, Trevor Lawrence has never lost on a Saturday.
And Montana never lost a Super Bowl, never threw an interception in a Super Bowl, Brandon.
You know what else he's never done? He's never made it to more than 4, like the real GOAT. Anyway. So you're going Eagles.
The bear. It just makes me laugh because you can't even you lose your train of thought.
I know.
Completely.
All right. So you're going Eagles. I'm going Giants. We're both on the Chiefs on Saturday. So we're getting into the Sunday games. And we've got the 2:00 game on CBS is Bengals Bills. Who you got?
You know what? I have to do this for my buddy. One of my buddies is a diehard Bills fan, lives in Buffalo, had to stay in over the holidays with 5 feet of snow. I think Josh Allen has a bounce back game. I think they win this game. I really do. If you look at his season 2, he always bounces back. Not always. I mean, he's had a couple back-to-back bad games, but he really does bounce back. He has some good games. I think he bounces back. I really think he looks in the mirror and bounces back.
And rumor has that DeMar Hamlin will be in the stadium.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Against the team that where at their home stadium is where he had the incident and almost lost his life. So that could be a big boost for the Bills. However, Patrick Mahomes, who goes to Super Bowls, who is great and I love him, has a daddy, and daddy's coming home. Daddy's coming to whoop his ass the following Sunday because Joe Burrows and the Cincinnati Bengals are going to beat the Buffalo Bills.
All right.
The Cincinnati Bengals they're just that team. I believe in Joe Burrow. Like I love watching Joe Burrow play football. He is just a pure winner. He is not the flashiest quarterback. He is not Patrick Mahomes. He is not, a Josh Allen. He's not going to wow you with his size. He's not going to wow you with some crazy passes. But this guy is a winner. I can't pick against him. He reminds me a lot. He reminds me a lot of, and I'm not comparing them, so don't at me after I say this. He reminds me a lot of Tom Brady. Just a guy you look at and like, wow, how does he just keep doing it? And he just keeps doing it.
Very accurate too.
Yeah,
I mean, that matters. That matters a lot.
Absolutely.
And that's why I felt good about Justin Fields. 73% his last year at Ohio State. Not to bring him back up again, but just very accurate, very composed. Knows what, smart kid. I mean, just, go back to that LSU Alabama game. Every single pass was correct, and that was a giant game.
Right. Yep.
Other than the Super.
Oh, I think we lost Fitzy here. Fitzy, you good? All right, so I think we lost Fitzy here, so I will wait for him to get back. But we have the final game of the weekend is going to be on Fox, and that is the night. I think this might be the most watched game. Fitzy, are you back here with me?
I think I'm here.
All right. So
I'm ready to make bad predictions.
I think that this game here is going to be the most watched game of the weekend. I'm not so sure it's going to be the best game, but I think it's going to be the most watched game. It's because of the two teams that are playing on it, and that's Niners and Cowboys. I am all Niners here. I think that I have the Niners and the Bengals in the Super Bowl. This defense is insane. Brock Purdy is the most legitimate Mr. Irrelevant that you will ever see. The kid is just, he's good. And I know you say that even I could play quarterback for this football team, but this kid does make some plays. And for being a kid that almost went undrafted, this San Francisco team is going to be too tough to beat. If Dallas makes too many mistakes, they tend to find a way to beat themselves in divisional rounds of playoffs. I'm going Niners all day long.
I like a good story. I like Brock Purdy. I do. That's not what I'm saying. Just show me an NFL pass he's thrown. Really. He's been good since college. Amanda checks in. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm not even saying he doesn't have a shot. We don't know yet.
According to your brother, we're gonna trade Justin Fields to the Niners and the number 1 pick for Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know if there's another team that has a better team built around him than Brock Purdy right now, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong there?
No.
And how bad was Garoppolo if he couldn't do this?
Well, see, Garoppolo is just a game manager, though. Like he is just one of those guys who just I don't know, and he's also one of those guys who tends to find a way to lose. Like that Super Bowl against the Chiefs, he found a way to he could not complete a pass in the third quarter. He was making bad decision after bad decision in the second half. And that's what you end up getting out of Garoppolo. Purdy's just a different breed, man. I watched this kid play. He checks down. He does all the things right. He scrambles only when he needs to. He is going to be the real deal. And I actually think the Niners are going to end up building around this kid.
I need to see him make all the passes.
You might see that this weekend.
I need to see him make all. Well, yeah. I mean, against a much better defense, a defense that can actually get to him without falling down.
Yeah, a defense
Lots of guys-
that even Justin Fields carved up earlier in the season.
Yeah, true.
I
Justin
mean-
Fields carved up a lot of good defenses, though.
Yeah, but I mean, John doesn't want him to be our quarterback. I don't know why. Maybe he
Yeah.
does. I guess.
Dallas, Philadelphia, the Patriots, all the top defenses he played.
I mean, I
much.
think that John just doesn't understand football. That's all. That's just what I think. But anyway, so are you taking the Niners then?
Yeah, I'm taking the Niners here.
All right. So
yeah, probably not by much. Maybe a couple field goals. It's going to be a close game, I think. And I think the kid's tested, and let's see how he does. I want to see this kid against a good defense. I want to see if he can make those passes. If he can, then I'll make a prediction. But I don't know if he has the arm strength yet. I really don't. Some of those out patterns, that throw got kind of late.
Buck Heiser with Skylar Thompson beat Brock Purdy in college. Just because Skylar Thompson's a K-State freaking guy, just like Buck's a K-State freaking alum.
Didn't play that bad of a game against Buffalo. Had a few mistakes, but who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater plays that game, and Buffalo's out of the playoffs.
I
Come on.
don't think so. I think if Teddy Bridgewater plays that game, Miami's not in it at the end.
Teddy Bridgewater plays that game, he might not have a knee anymore.
Teddy Bridgewater plays that game. He's definitely hurt before the third quarter. But that is all the time we have for now. Guys, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having me, buddy.
Thanks for hopping on last minute with me, but I really appreciate it. Both of us got home just before showtime, so I'm kind of used to doing it. I know you're not, so I appreciate you giving me all you could.
No problem.
Tonight.
We even had mic problems, but I played through it. My kid came down and wanted to say hi to you, but the mic fell, and then he ran. I don't know where he went, but
that's what goats do, though. That's what goats do.
But play like a champion.
Yeah, goats like everybody except for Joe Montana. So. All right.
Wow.
Until Sunday when I see you for Man Hour Chicago, buddy. You have a good rest of your week. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you Sunday. Till then, Man Hour Nation, rise up.